David, apart from being a super excited amateur and expert in Formula One, you told us, David is the leader for financial services and insurance vertical at DataSentics, which is an Atos company. He brings a great deal of technical expertise as well as an experience from the client's perspective. In digital transformation, digital marketing, AI projects, leading marketing automation projects in banks, brokers, and B2B, customer data and customer behavior at omnichannel level, leading a team in the data-driven transformation of marketing in the biggest CEE retail bank. You will probably tell us who. He's a public speaker at conferences here, machine learning and how to utilize it in digital advertising campaigns. Now I have a question for you as well. Great respect, David, at that seemingly young age and such credentials. I would like to grill you with 3 questions to please answer in 9 minutes, so 3. First, and see if you can remember them. What are, in your view, the most trending AI use cases in FSI at the moment? So use cases. Second, how can AI use case be accelerated faster? So coming back to what Artem said. And third, how can we grow internal AI talent competence, which was one of the topics that we saw as problems. Here you go.
Thanks a lot. So I would start with the first question. So what are the most common use cases we see? So when we are working for our clients, we basically see 3 kinds of use cases. So first one was also mentioned by Javier, that it's around hyper-personalization. So it's a big topic in FSI these days. But you know, the personalization, it's been there for a while. But what we see is that now, with the emerge of cloud technologies and, let's say, cost of development of AI going down, well, the companies can focus on new kinds of data, like, for example, data from digital behavior. So how people are browsing your internet banking app, how fast they are filling in some online forms, and so on. So these, let's say, digital behavior data, they are vast, they are really big data sets, and there are basically no other way to process them than using some model approach or statistical approaches. So using this digital data and also, let's say, using unstructured data coming from the customer service, you can imagine it as call recordings that are being automatically transcribed by speech-to-text AI algorithms that are developed by the big players like Google, Azure, or AWS. So using these algorithms, it's nowadays much cheaper to transcribe even voice recordings of the customers to a text, and then you can use some NLP models to understand the topic, the product, the feeling of the customer, and many other things that gives you a little bit of insight about the customer's need. So using the digital and unstructured data for hyper-personalization, it's a thing we see, and we've been working on this, for example, for Česká spořitelna, member of Erste Group. They are really doing a great job there, and the interesting thing is that we see that let's say the bet on cloud and technologies like Databricks is massively helping go fast. So hyper-personalization, once you plug this data, you can enrich all classical processes you have around customer, upselling, cross-selling models, retention models, and you can help prioritize the leads for the outbound and so on. So there are really, it's really not about disrupting the processes you have, but it's actually bringing new data, using AI techniques, plugging into the processes, and slightly reprioritizing and making the people more efficient. So that's the first use case. The second use case, I would say, we've seen around, let's say, enrichment of the core banking and insurance processes. What I mean by that is, for example, fraud. So fraud detection processes, they've been there forever, right? So it's, again, AI is not about to replace them. And if you have some internal project trying to replace it completely, well, be careful. But the way we see it working is that, again, we are bringing those new kinds of data about, for example, how fast the customers are, or how long the customers are spending on a last confirmation page on some online form. So you can imagine that this interesting information, how much time I spent on the confirmation page, it gives a interesting insight whether I'm, for example, a fraudster trying to fill the form. And it's not so easy like that, because, for example, young people, they are much faster, so they like to just skim through the process. So you need some AI to combine all the different factors about the customer, come up with the model that is able to extract the patterns, and then you can enrich the fraud detection process, and for example decrease some false positivity, which is the biggest thing. Yeah, because in fraud you don't want to call your customers asking them if they are fraudsters, right? It kind of doesn't help the customer relationship, right? So that's the case we've been doing for eSure in UK. And yeah, it's a massive thing, especially in Western markets. And let's say the third use case we see is all about document reading AI. So let's say classical OCR methods, like let's say reading some physical documents, they are not working well because often in FSI we are dealing with many differently formatted documents. You can imagine, for example, insurance company dealing with the claims. You smash your car, you go to a repair shop, you get invoice, and then you send it to your insurer. But every single invoice is differently formatted, right, based on the repair shop. So classical OCR method doesn't work. But in last years, computer vision made massive progress. And nowadays, you can train neural networks using deep learning approach, and you can create algorithm that is able to find, for example, amount in a particular place in the document, or for example, the name of the repair shop, and things like that. So again, this is, let's say, third use case we are doing, for example, for an insurance company of KBC. So that's let's say the three main areas of the use cases, and now I'll quickly move to the remaining two questions, right? So how to, let's say, accelerate it? So as been discussed before, I've seen several customers trying to develop their own data AI platforms. But what happened after a couple of years, they realized that they are a FSI company trying to build a technology, which often is not a ideal way to do. In the last 5 years, cloud providers, hyperscalers like GCP, AWS, and Azure, they made massive progress. So you have all the technological stuff there, which is ramping up the productivity of your internal teams. So you can really rely on them and speed up the go-to-market, and you can be much more frequent in fail-fast approach. Yeah. So I would say if you are doing some AI project, really consider using hyperscaler, at least for some initial phases. So the last bit was about how to, let's say, retain the talent, right? So
retain and grow, yeah.
And retain the growth, yeah. So I've seen all of the FSNI companies trying to build their own data AI competence, building their own internal teams. But honestly, it's a tough job, yeah, because in these markets, these experts are quite demanded, and it's hard to hire people, and it's actually even more harder to retain them, because if you are FSNI, not everything goes as fast as the technical people would like, right? So you need to care about compliance and this kind of stuff. So let's say the young talents, they don't like it. And one way how we see our customers are trying to work around this is that they are cooperating with external specialized consultancies for these things, who can bring the, let's say, market view, who can bring the use cases from other, let's say, from other clients in the industry, and who can serve as this like continuous feed of the interesting things. And it's important that these consultancy companies are not competing. Yeah, for example, many Big Four projects are kind of set up in a way to compete with the internal people, which creates this tension, and you probably all know it, right? But the successful clients that we see, they are really working hand in hand with the external consultancy company, and I think this is the only way how to retain the talent, because you are bringing some external vendor who feeds them with the new things. They are still on top of things, yet you deliver and grow your internal data competence in the same time. So yeah.
As a vendor, we totally agree with the last point you've made.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you, David. Respect again. You kept the time and you answered all the questions. You remembered them. Hey, great panel with great panelists that deserve a big applause, I think. As we have a minute and something to go for Q&As, I would like to ask the audience here, any questions to the panelists? The mics are on the side, here and here. So please come to the front. Take your chance now. Let me see if I have something that comes from our audience. No questions, only Elena who said hello. Hello, Elena. Well, thank you very much again, and let's keep tuned. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.